and all that stuff.
And this is all pre-K2. And then I learned
That's when I was
about
managing fighters.
June 21st of 2003. You're officially, you're with Vitaly.
Yeah.
Vladimir's brother, if you all don't know. And he fought Lennox Lewis, and actually Lennox Lewis was supposed to fight Mike Tyson at Staples Center.
No, Lennox was going to fight
Kevin Johnson.
Kevin Johnson, and Vitaly was going to fight Cedric Boswell, but they were going to be on the same show.
Okay.
Tyson was going to be the co-feature. Lennox was a champion.
Okay.
Tyson was the co-feature, but Tyson was the ticket seller.
Yeah.
Because Lennox didn't, translate back then into selling a lot of tickets over here. But
Tyson's co-feature,
Tyson
interesting.
would sell
Never
it
heard
in the
co-feature.
arena. And then, I remember we were pulling up. Vitaly was a mandatory, WBC mandatory for Lennox at the time. And we were pulling up. It was myself and Vladimir, and we had the attorney in the car. And I called ahead of time. I told them, we're going to bring the guys down. We're not going to crash the press conference, but just cordially, come by and talk to the media. And then one of the media guys, Steve Kim, came out and he said, Tyson's off the show. He's not fighting. And all of a sudden, a light went on my head. He's like, well, Tyson's off the show. They need someone. Vitaly was a big Ukrainian population in LA. And Vitaly would sell a lot of tickets. He was super popular. So, we had a good relationship with AEG at the time, and we got them to agree to put him on as the co-feature. And then what happened is Kevin Johnson injured himself.
Like 3 weeks before.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 2 weeks
Not
later.
Kevin Johnson. It was the other, but anyways, a Canadian.
I know what you're talking about.
The Southpaw.
I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to remember his name.
And anyway, so he injured himself, and then they literally had, I think it was 3 weeks, or maybe just under 3 weeks. They had the option of HBO was either going to cancel the show. That was pay-per-view back then.
That's right.
With both Lennox and Vitaly on the show. And then they were either going to cancel the show, or it's like, if you guys fight each other, then we'll put it on regular HBO. And that's what happened. That's what.
6 grueling rounds.
That's how we made that fight. Yeah, 6 rounds. That was the best heavyweight fight that I've seen. Prior to this fight with Vladimir, and it was good.
Yeah, Tom, can you elaborate first? Because I remember when Vitaly Klitschko quit against Chris Bird, and he said he didn't quite understand why the American public turned against him. He didn't understand what was so wrong with quitting in a fight. Because I remember when he fought Lennox Lewis, he didn't quit. He wanted to keep going and was angry at the referee. Can you talk to us about what happened against Chris Bird and why he did not understand the formula behind becoming a heavyweight champion and remaining champion to the very end?
I think that was just not all the information coming out in the German media. It was widely reported, how severe that injury was. Vitaly said in the second round he injured it, and as it was going, it was just like he was getting like flashes of pain, and then all of a sudden, like it was like he couldn't see. It was like so painful, like white flashes in his eyes, and it wasn't fully reported. Naturally, it's so easy to sit back and say, well, he was winning the fight. He just needed maybe 1 more round or 2 more rounds. It was 2 more rounds, and then he could have won the fight. But he literally couldn't lift his arm. And then the doctor said, when they did the surgery and saw how bad the injury was, like if you would have kept fighting, it's possible it would have been so damaged that maybe it would have been permanently damaged. So that wasn't reported to the full extent. HBO, I think Lou also was involved in that fight, and had some critical things to say of Vitaly. But Vitaly is one of those guys that you can never question his heart. I mean, he'll stand there. I mean, look at what he's doing for his country, Ukraine, right now. He's in Ukraine. You saw with the uprising, he's standing there in fire extinguishers.
She's like right in the middle of it.
That's one of those guys.
Nothing.
He told me a story once where he grew up like in a military family, and they would have to go to different military bases as the father got stationed in different places. And one time, when you're the new guy, kind of like in the school or the military base, other people kind of try to test you. One time he said literally he was surrounded by like 10 or 12 guys. And, luckily he didn't have to really confront them, but he's like, to me, it's like if there's one guy in the ring with me, that's easy. He's used to fighting, all these guys, and it's like,
She's like, good Lord, guy. It's just Lennox Lewis.
And the Lennox fight, I think, really showed especially the American public, what kind of heart he had, because there was no way he was gonna stop that fight. He just wanted to keep going. He was so much on adrenaline. I don't think he even, felt the eye. It wasn't bothering him. I mean, it was bleeding, but the cut man had it under control. Every time he came out of the ring, even though it was a really bad cut, it wasn't bleeding into his eye. And so there was actually a little bit of a controversial stoppage because
I remember he was angry.
He was winning.
he was angry. He was
Deserting
winning.
Lewis.
He was winning 4 rounds to 2. And when Lennox landed that monster uppercut that would have probably taken anyone else's head off and knocked anyone out, and when Vitaly took it and then kept coming forward, I think Lennox was done mentally. He's like, if I land my best punch and I can't hurt this guy, what am I going to do?
That's why he never came back.
And Vitaly kept going forward, and if you watch the end of the fight, if you watch it closely, Lennox basically collapsed in his stool. He was completely exhausted.
He was exhausted, I remember that.
Exhausted, and Vitaly, walked back to his stool, and the referee called the doctor in to look at the tongue, because that was a new injury. The referee said that the eye wasn't getting worse. I was bad, there's no question I was bad, but it wasn't getting progressively worse. But there was a new injury with the tongue, and he wanted to make sure Vitaly wasn't swallowing too much blood. So he called the doctor in to look at the tongue, and then the doctor stopped it on the eye. Plastic surgeon that sewed up the eye afterwards. He put in like 67 stitches.
Oh my God.
Right.
3 different layers, but he said the eye was never in danger, like as far as the nerve. I mean, naturally you can't question it like during the fight, okay, you want to protect the fighter.
Yeah.
It's just Vitaly knows his body, and I don't think he would have, just like with his arm, if he knew there was a chance of his eye being damaged, he wouldn't want it to continue, but for him it was just superficial. There was a lot of blood, there was cuts, but it wasn't anything that was going to affect his eye, and when the doctor stopped it, he was just really, he was so upset that he couldn't, and then like you said, Lennox
Tired.
tired instead of,
It's like, I'm out.
it gives that guy another chance that it could go a different way, but yeah, that was another fight where even though Vitaly lost, he gained so many fans. I mean, that was when he stood on the ropes, his blood was dripping down his face.
It's like eyebrows on
raised
his
his
lip.
hand,
Yeah.
raised his hand,
Oh,
and
man.
fans were going crazy. They were cheering for him. When he walked in, naturally, everyone knew Lennox Lewis as a champion, and so probably 80% of people were cheering for Lewis and booing Vitaly. After the fight, I'd say it switched, where 80% or at least 70% were cheering for Vitaly because he just won over all the fans. And then when we did
That was impressive.
the fight, when Lewis retired and the WBC title became vacant, that's when we did the fight with Corey Sanders, who unfortunately he's no longer with us. But that was at Staples Center, and that was a tremendous victory for